My name is Maddie Sullivan, and for step one of my research project, I was really excited about this project because I wanted to focus on the intersectional community that is being a young woman in college. And then when I dove deeper, I found that there are many other layers to that. So, my research question is, how do intersectional identities, especially gender, race, and socioeconomic background, sorry, I'm reading my research question, and socioeconomic background shape the sense of belonging and mental health and health of young college women? So I chose this question because as a young woman in college myself, I've noticed that not everyone experiences campus life or college life, sorority life, and a sort of away from home life in the same way. Some people seem completely comfortable, outgoing, loved. They know where they fit, they have the connections, they feel like they belong here, they're ready to go step out into the world. And then there are others who look isolated or overwhelmed, or like they're kind of just trying to get through it through the week or the day or the year. And when you look closer, it becomes pretty clear that identity plays a big role in that difference. It's not just gender alone, but how gender intersects with race, with being a first generation student, or someone with a socioeconomic background, or someone who doesn't come from a wealthy family. Even I myself have moments where I felt like I absolutely belonged, and other moments where I felt like I was on the outside of something I couldn't fully explain. I myself come from a family that isn't paying for my college experience, and that is something that has affected the way I view my peers. Those experiences made me curious about what is actually causing that difference and how it might affect mental health for students like me and students who aren't exactly like me. So one of the most helpful resources that I found so far during my research was an article by Ovnik and colleagues in PLOS1. So in this article, I found it really interesting. So they studied belonging among students that looked at gender, race, and family income together. So what they found is that the academic support, like tutoring, good faculty, strong programs, and even some social programs like clubs, isn't just enough by itself. So it's students with intersecting marginalized identities, like women of color and being a first generation student, those types of people still reported feeling less included socially, even when the school looks supportive on paper and seems supportive and seems like a great environment for that type of person. So what that told me was that belonging is shaped more than just your resources at your specific college. It's shaped by your climate, by exclusion, by the people around you, and who campuses are designed for and who they're not for. So for my paper, I'm focusing on three main areas. First, what belonging actually means in a college setting. And then also, how belonging, or the lack of, affects mental health outcomes altogether. And finally, how inclusive college support systems really are for women in intersectional community identities versus the ones that focus on that as just an afterthought. I also found it really interesting. What kept getting brought up in my research was stress. So I wanted to look closer into stress and anxiety and where that lies into this, because financial stress doesn't operate the same way for everyone. So a first generation woman who's working two jobs experiences college very differently from someone whose tuition and housing are covered by their parents or their family or anything. That kind of experience is very different. So the emotional pressure of being the only woman of color in that space wasn't built for that type of person in mind. That can silently shape a person's confidence, their anxiety levels, the motivation in ways that most people never see, and their mental health overall. And that was crazy to me. So this research has led me to quite a few questions. So number one, are mental health services unintentionally designed around students with privilege? And what kinds of environments are actually build a sense of belonging across different identities? And what would it take for colleagues to treat intersectionality, or colleges, sorry. What would it take for colleges to treat intersectionality as a baseline for young adults admitting into their colleges, and not just something they think of after or as an add-on? So, for my research project, I'm going to be writing a traditional excuse me. So for my final project, I'm writing a traditional research essay, which I love writing research essays, so I have the space to put my formal evidence next to my own real lived experiences. So in my essay, I'm going to explain intersectionality, review what current research says about the belonging and mental health, and then argue that support systems in higher education need to be built with identity and differences in mind, not assuming that all women or all students are impacted in the same way, which is something I'm really passionate about because that was something that I was, I believe, ignorant to when I started this research project. Since I said before, I started this as just an intersectional community as baseline, a young woman in college, and as I dug deeper, I found that it's a lot more than that, and a young woman of color or a young woman of less income than myself experiences college different than me, who's just a young college woman. And so I'm very passionate about this, and I'm really, really excited to dive deeper on how this not only affects me, but the people in my life, the people I've met, the people who I hope to meet, and hopefully reach an audience that can grasp onto this and hopefully have a revelation like I did. Speaking of audience, so my intended audience is both institutional and personal for me. So I want administrators, counselors, and professors to see why this matters for policy and programming. And not only that, I also want college women, especially those who don't always feel seen, who feel alone or sad or can't make friends in college, to feel their experience as legitimate and recognized, and not just themselves leaving home for the first time and feeling like it's the fact that they don't know how to navigate life, and that it's really backed up by research that it's harder for people of these specific intersectional communities to go into the world as people and live out these experiences the same way as someone else. So, one of the reasons that I think this study deeply matters to everyone, not just these specific intersectional communities and not just colleges. It matters because belonging isn't just an emotional bonus. It's not just something that helps us or adds on to our lives. It predicts real outcomes, and it affects our lives deeply. So students who feel like they belong are more likely to stay enrolled, to graduate, and to actually seek mental health or therapy when they need it. And the opposite is also true. So when belonging is low, mental health declines, motivation drops, and students slowly disconnect from campus life and sorority life if you're in a sorority, or wanting to go to class, or attendance life, even if they never drop out officially, which is really fascinating to me. So intersectionality isn't just a theory of conversation, or it's a conversation that needs to be had. It affects who succeeds and who silently struggles. So part of what I hope my project does is to make a case that institutions cannot treat identity as a side note. If belonging affects mental health as much as it does, and mental health affects success, then understanding belonging through an intersectional lens should be central to how colleges design support, not just optional and not just something to think about. It's something so important that I believe isn't talked about enough, and I'm hoping it opens up a new world to people who were at first ignorant like me, or just have no idea about that any of this type of thing is happening. So that's the direction of my research, and that's the argument I'm building. that who we are shapes how we experience college, and institutions need to respond to that if they want equality. So, yeah, thank you. I'm really looking forward to writing my Step 1 research project, and yeah, thank you.